Les Randiens en France, qui est le grand spécialiste d'Ayn Rand en France. Voilà, donc je vous laisse la parole pour parler de la pertinence des idées d'Ayn Rand en France aujourd'hui.
Merci.
Merci.
Alors, on m'avait également dit que je devais parler des raisons pour lesquelles on avait publié ou republié la grève. Donc, je vais d'articuler ces deux points. Je vais commencer par ça. Et ensuite, en effet, je parlerai un peu de cette pertinence de l'accueil et de la nécessité de se référer, de lire Ayn Rand. Alors, quelques rappels sur le plan éditorial d'abord. Alors, c'est en 2011 qu'aux Belles Lettres, on a publié la grève. On en est au 3e tirage, ça veut dire que ça a bien marché du point de vue des ventes. Puisque vous ne l'ignorez pas, c'est pas ici que je vais insister là-dessus, ce que je cherche d'abord, ou en tout cas aussi un éditeur, c'est gagner de l'argent en vendant le plus possible de livres. Donc de ce point de vue-là, le retour sur investissement qui était loin d'être évident, c'est fait. Ça fait un certain temps qu'on a passé la barre fatidique, c'est-à-dire où il commence à y avoir retour sur investissement. Et en nous apercevant qu'il y avait donc un lectorat potentiel peut-être plus important qu'on ne l'aurait supposé au départ, parce qu'on avait pris un pari tout à fait risqué en publiant et en faisant traduire la grève. On s'est demandé s'il n'était pas temps de la publier également en poche, ce qui a dû sauver un certain nombre de poches d'ailleurs depuis, puisque dans l'édition normale, ça pèse 1,4 kg, et quand j'en portais 2 ou 3 exemplaires avec moi, c'était assez pénible. Là, maintenant, on est passé sous la barre du kilo. Alors, c'est une édition de poche, en effet, mais de justesse. C'est toujours ça. Donc, pourquoi avoir republié la grève? Donc, il y a d'une part, cet argument commercial. Ça marche. Quand je dis ça marche, je ne dis pas en marche, mais ça marche, en tout cas. Et sur le plan financier. Et puis surtout, ce qui a sans doute emporté la mise, c'est qu'aux Belles Lettres, on n'est pas de simples vendeurs de livres, on y croyait depuis le début, tout en misant plutôt sur un long terme qui s'est révélé plus court que ce que nous avions cru anticiper. Il y a eu un certain nombre de circonstances qui ont joué. L'une est tout ce buzz qui a eu lieu aux États-Unis à la fin de l'année dernière, après l'élection de Trump, et où dans la presse américaine, il y a eu quantité d'articles qui prétendaient ou qui se demandaient s'il n'y avait pas une influence plus ou moins occulte de Rand ou de la pensée de Ayn Rand sur l'administration Trump. Et il s'est avéré qu'en effet, Donald Trump lui-même est un admirateur d'Ayn Rand. Il a fait de l'autre grand roman d'Ayn Rand, The Fountainhead, La source vive, son livre de chevet. Il l'avait d'ailleurs dit explicitement dans une interview qui était parue en mai 2016. Et puis dans son administration, autour de lui, il y a pas mal de gens, en effet, qui sont aussi des admirateurs d'Ayn Rand. Et ayant eu vent de cela, évidemment, j'ai proposé à l'un de mes amis qui était devenu, André Berkoff, qui est devenu l'un des rédacteurs en chef adjoints de Valeurs Actuelles, peut-être de faire un papier là-dessus. Et André est quelqu'un qui est le seul Français à avoir obtenu une interview de Donald Trump avant son élection. Donc il s'était rendu compte en allant aux États-Unis, en effet, qu'il y avait quelqu'un qui comptait beaucoup dans le monde des idées et qu'on sous-estimait ou méconnaissait en France, qui était Ayn Rand. Donc il a sauté sur l'occasion, il m'a demandé de faire un papier de 2 pages dans Valeurs Actuelles, ça devait se passer début avril. Et ce papier a été lu par pas mal d'autres journalistes, d'autres chroniqueurs, commentateurs, producteurs de radio, voire de télévision, et l'idée a fait son chemin qu'en effet, en France, eh bien, on ignorait presque totalement l'existence de quelqu'un qui comptait énormément aux États-Unis, au point de passer pour une aspiratrice possible ou putative de Donald Trump. Bon, ça c'est un autre problème. Alors ce que je veux rappeler aussi, c'est comment, aux Belles Lettres, on en est venu à s'intéresser à Ayn Rand, puisqu'on est le seul éditeur, en effet, à avoir misé sur elle. Le point de départ, c'est dommage que Jacqueline Balestier, qui est la maîtresse des lieux, ne soit pas là. L'ALEPS, donc, qui est notre hôte ce soir, était pas mal lié à cela, puisque j'avais publié en 1985 un livre qui s'appelait De l'individualisme, et dans mon bureau, quelque temps après, un grand escogriffe que vous connaissez peut-être, qui s'appelle François Guillaume, est arrivé et m'a dit, mais écoutez, il y a quelqu'un qui manque dans votre livre, et il m'a posé devant moi un autre livre, c'était La source vive. Disant, vous devez absolument lire ça. Et moi, dès que j'ai lu La source vive, j'étais enthousiasmé et conquis par Ayn Rand, au point, en 1993, donc, de dire, il faut commencer à le faire connaître en France, et c'était la traduction de The Virtue of Selfishness, la vertu d'égoïsme. Alors c'est intéressant parce que là, la presse était totalement muette, aucun écho à la vertu d'égoïsme. Mais il y a une sorte de bouche à oreille, et au bout d'une dizaine d'années, on a eu tout de même un certain nombre de retours, des gens qui écrivaient aux belles lettres en disant, mais en effet, nous aussi, nous apprécions beaucoup Ayn Rand. Et à ce moment-là, d'ailleurs, j'avais même créé une French Ayn Rand Society, et on se réunissait tous les mois autour, en effet, des idées d'Ayn Rand. Alors, toujours est-il que en 2008, donc on se rapproche de maintenant, il est apparu que la vertu d'égoïsme en français s'était épuisée, et je l'ai republié dans une autre collection, et là, on a commencé à en parler, je me rappelle, avoir sursauté de plaisir en constatant qu'il y avait une pile haute comme ça, la FNAC, de vertu d'égoïsme, au milieu d'un tas de livres gauchistes ou socialistes ou communistes. En effet, c'était tout de même un joli coup. Et à ce moment-là, on s'est dit, puisque, en effet, on est obligé de republier, que faire avec les autres grands romans d'Ayn Rand? Donc, un autre éditeur possède toujours les droits sur la source vive, et on s'est attelé au problème donc d'Atlas. Et là, il y a eu un miracle. Il y a quelqu'un qui est venu nous voir, qui s'appelle Andrew Lessman. Et Andrew Lessman est un entrepreneur américain, grand admirateur, puisqu'il fait partie aussi de Ayn Rand Institute. Et il a beaucoup d'attaches avec la France, et dit, la France est le seul pays, sinon au monde, en tout cas en Europe, où personne ne connaît vraiment Ayn Rand. Ma mission est de la faire connaître. Donc je vais faire traduire Atlas en français. Donc il s'est embarqué là-dedans, puis à un moment donné, il a cherché un éditeur. Alors la petite histoire est amusante parce que il s'est adressé à Gallimard et à Grasset, et là il s'est fait jeter carrément en disant, mais ce que vous nous proposez là, c'est une sorte d'immondice, c'est scandaleux, c'est de l'ultra-capitalisme, etc. Donc, et puis faire l'apologie de l'égoïsme, donc inacceptable. Et à ce moment-là, il s'est aperçu qu'aux belles lettres, on avait déjà publié un ouvrage d'Ayn Rand, La vertu d'égoïsme, et donc il s'adressait à nous. Et là, le deal était très intéressant, puisque Andrew avait pris sur lui de financer la traduction, parce que c'est ça que nous faisait reculer. Pour un éditeur, il n'y a rien de plus cher qu'une traduction, au point que parfois, par exemple, on préfère, pour des biographies dont je m'occupe également, faire une biographie à nouveau frais en français plutôt que de faire traduire une biographie en anglais ou en allemand, tellement le coût de la traduction est élevé. Mais là, c'était sur un plateau en or, si l'on peut dire, puisque la traduction était en cours et pratiquement faite, et le deal, ça a été, bien écoutez, Andrew a créé une fondation d'ailleurs à ce sujet. On a fait une coédition avec lui, il apportait la traduction et on s'occupait du reste, pourquoi il n'était pas du tout outillé. Et voilà comment la chose s'est faite. Et donc ça a été publié en 2011, et on revient à l'histoire dont je vous parlais tout à l'heure, et depuis, donc... alors, il y a quelque chose d'autre qui était intéressant, mais je passe, comme ça me concerne, je passe plus vite là-dessus. Moi, depuis 2 ans, j'avais entrepris, pour les raisons que je vous indiquais, de préparer une biographie intellectuelle d'Ayn Rand, et j'étais en train de péniblement sélectionner, traduire pour mon compte des passages d'Atlas, et heureusement, presque comme par miracle, comme je vous le disais, il y a eu donc cette traduction qui était en train de se faire, à laquelle j'ai pu me référer. Alors, lorsque la grève, donc l'édition ordinaire, est parue, donc il y a un certain temps, hein, ça fait 6 ans, elle était bien accueillie, mais sans plus. On ne peut pas dire que c'était un raz-de-marée. C'est surtout le bouche-oreille, encore une fois, puis le buzz sur les réseaux sociaux qui a fait que ça s'est très bien vendu. Mais alors, donc quand compte tenu des bonnes ventes de l'édition normale, quand on a choisi de faire une édition en poche, on ne s'attendait pas du tout à cette sorte de raz-de-marée qui s'est produit depuis. Alors pourquoi je parle de raz-de-marée, comme je m'occupe aussi beaucoup des relations avec la presse aux belles lettres, et comme ça fait une vingtaine d'années que je m'en occupe, donc on a réussi à tisser des liens parfois forts, très sympathiques, avec un certain nombre de commentateurs ou de journalistes. Après Valeurs actuelles le 6 avril, ben là c'était avec Trump, il y a eu une revue littéraire qui s'appelle Transfuge, qui s'occupe de romans, de cinéma, qui m'a également demandé mon avis sur les relations entre Trump et Rand. Donc ça a tout de même créé le début de l'intérêt français pour ça. On ne remerciera jamais assez Donald Trump d'avoir involontairement favorisé l'ouverture française à Ayn Rand d'une certaine manière. Et donc ça a continué à se répandre, et c'est à ce moment-là qu'un producteur de France Culture m'a appelé en me disant, donc j'ai pas mal discuté avec lui, Xavier Delaporte, et il m'a dit, écoutez, on est en train de s'apercevoir, y compris à France Culture, qu'il y a quelqu'un qui compte énormément aux États-Unis, non seulement sur le plan politique, mais sur le plan purement intellectuel, c'est Ayn Rand. Moi, j'ai une sorte de collection qui s'appelle Avoir raison avec, où il avait déjà traité d'un certain nombre d'auteurs tout à fait différents. Juste avant, ça avait été par exemple autour d'Emir Durkheim, le sociologue. Eh bien, écoutez, je veux faire une série de 5 émissions d'une demi-heure sur Ayn Rand pour la faire connaître. Alors, le plus intéressant, c'est ce qu'il m'a dit de lui. Il me dit, parce qu'on a beaucoup discuté, personnellement, je ne suis pas du tout favorable aux idées d'Ayn Rand, mais je me rends compte qu'elle compte énormément, que c'est une pensée forte, et il est important de la faire connaître. Et en France, quand on tombe sur ce genre d'esprit, je ne suis pas d'accord, mais en effet, ce qui compte avant tout, c'est qu'elle soit connue, que ceux qui peuvent s'y intéresser puissent la lire, c'est tout de même quelque chose d'assez remarquable. Peu de temps après, d'ailleurs, il me rappelle en me disant, mais j'ai des amis producteurs également France Culture, qui veulent faire une émission assez importante sur le grand architecte américain Frank Lloyd Wright. Et vous savez que c'est lui qui a été la source d'inspiration d'Ayn Rand dans La source vive, dans un Fountainhead. Et du coup, autre émission à France Culture sur Frank Lloyd Wright, et ça a pratiquement tourné à « Mais qui est donc cette Ayn Rand ?» qui s'était lié d'amitié pendant un temps avec Frank Lloyd Wright. Donc il y a eu tout ça qui s'est passé à France Culture. Donc voilà, j'ai fait la liste de tous les supports, comme on dit dans les médias, qui sont intéressants. Alternative économique, que vous connaissez peut-être, qui est le mensuel gauchiste sur l'économie, a publié toute une page. Alors là, ils sont allés du couple habituel, c'est la prêtresse de l'ultralibéralisme, de l'égoïsme sordide, etc. Mais il y en avait une page, il était obligé de compter avec. Dans l'Express, la grève, la version poche, était présentée au début juillet, le 5 juillet exactement, comme un livre culte, donc un livre à lire sur les plages. Et puis il y a eu quelque chose d'autre aussi d'extrêmement intéressant. Un rédacteur en chef des Échos me contacte et me dit, écoutez, on veut faire quelque chose sur Ayn Rand. Et il y a eu ce superbe dossier que je vais avoir quelque part avec moi, d'environ 7 ou 8 pages, là j'ai en version rétrécie, donc 8 pages c'était les Échos week-end sur Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand, la libérale capitale. Alors là aussi, je lui ai demandé, parce qu'il y a un autre bon génie, Andrew Lessman, qui a favorisé tout cela. Il se trouve que ce journaliste de Guillaume Maujean, ce rédacteur en chef, finance des Échos, avait longtemps travaillé avec Henri de Castres. Plusieurs d'entre vous doivent savoir qui est Henri de Castres, l'ancien PDG d'AXA. Et Henri de Castres, depuis assez longtemps, était conquis aussi par Ayn Rand, au point, alors ça fait le buzz un peu dans tout Paris, au point, donc quand il y avait des réunions de son conseil d'administration, il offrait des exemplaires de la grève à toutes les personnes qui étaient présentes. Évidemment, on lui envoyait très vite la version poche pour que ce soit tout de même plus malléable pour ses invités. Alors voilà donc ce qui s'est fait avec les échos. Alors quelque chose qui est peu connu, la chaîne de télévision Arte s'est également intéressée à Ayn Rand. Dans la petite recension qui a été présentée ce jour-ci sur Contrepoint, elle n'est pas comptabilisée. C'était le 2 août, et vous savez peut-être, si vous regardez parfois cette chaîne culturelle plutôt orientée, elle aussi, comme presque tout le monde, à gauche, qu'il y a une sorte de journal télévisé d'Arte qui s'appelle 28 minutes, et souvent, il y a 2 minutes à la fin qui sont censées s'intéresser et mettre en valeur une personnalité. Alors ça peut être un chanteur de rock, ils font une petite bio. Et cette fois-ci, ils ont fait une petite bio en 2 minutes d'Ayn Rand, et ça s'est appelé Ayn Rand, l'inconnue la plus puissante du monde. Alors venant d'Arte, c'était tout à fait stupéfiant. Et puis enfin, je vais en terminer avec ça, et ce qui s'est passé avec le Point. Et dans le Point, donc, son chroniqueur économique, Pierre-Antoine Delhomme, a surtout 2 pages sur Ayn Rand. Donc c'est la publication de la version poche qui a été à l'occasion de cette sorte de tsunami. Récemment, il y a encore eu challenge, management, etc. Donc je ne compte plus tous les échos qui ont été accordés à Ayn Rand. Alors ce n'était pas la première fois, mais ce qui était symptomatique là, et qu'il faut essayer d'interpréter, c'est que, en effet, il y a eu une quinzaine de recensions qui se sont suivies. Alors, ce n'est pas la première fois, parce que, je le rappelle tout de même votre mémoire, dans Philosophie Magazine, eh bien, si vous voyez, regardez en bas, il y a Ayn Rand et l'égoïsme, et Philosophie Magazine m'avait demandé de préfacer. Ils ont publié dans un petit cahier qui est au centre, et que voilà, Philosophie Magazine, n'est-ce pas, Ayn Rand. Et il y avait d'importants passages de la grève que j'ai préfacés. Ça se passait il y a environ 1 an et demi. Donc, ce n'était pas la première fois que la presse y faisait écho, mais là, cette fois-ci, donc, ça a été tout à fait magnifique. Alors, j'en viens au deuxième point. C'est pourquoi il y a eu un tel accueil. Alors, donc, il y a quelque chose qui relève des circonstances. Et moi, je ne néglige pas du tout cet effet Trump. Il y a d'autre part, si je peux dire, la stratégie éditoriale qu'on a suivie aux belles lettres. Parce que, comme j'ai souvent dit, du point de vue d'Ayn Rand, au sujet d'Ayn Rand en tout cas, la France est une terre de mission. C'est-à-dire on est en terrain hostile au pays du social-étatisme roi. Par conséquent, si on aborde les choses frontalement, en arrivant comme la charge de cavalerie, youpi, il y a quelqu'un de génial qui s'appelle Ayn Rand, et il y a quelqu'un qui compte dans le monde, on est sûr de se faire jeter. Donc, soyez plus en douceur. Et au fond, le choix qu'on a fait, c'est tout simplement un choix professionnel, c'est-à-dire de faire bien notre travail d'édition, d'y aller en douceur et sans faire de forcing intempestif. Et c'est ça qui a marché. De plus, moi, quand j'avais publié ma biographie intellectuelle d'Ayn Rand, elle a fini par bien marcher. J'ai eu un exemple, une page entière dans Libération, parce que, en effet, il apparaissait que c'est paru dans une collection très largement ouverte. Autrement dit, si on publie ça en tant qu'éditeur qui est uniquement spécialisé, par exemple, dans le libertarianisme, ou bien si on publie que des ouvrages libéraux, il est sûr que ça ne marche pas. Ça, c'est la plus mauvaise manière de s'y prendre. Si au contraire, vous êtes un éditeur généraliste, vous publiez plein d'autres choses. Moi, dans mes collections, par exemple, il y a John Stuart Mill, il y a Proudhon, qui ne sont pas du tout des libertariens, mais en même temps, lorsqu'un chroniqueur ou un journaliste reçoit un volume, il se dit, c'est une collection ouverte, donc en effet, ce n'est pas quelqu'un qui apparaît comme un militant échevelé qui veut placer sa marchandise, et par conséquent, ça peut marcher du point de vue des recensions. Le contexte hors Trump a beaucoup compté. Vous savez qu'au moment où il y a eu aux États-Unis le Tea Party, là aussi, il y a eu un buzz énorme aux États-Unis, il y avait une sorte de retour d'Ayn Rand sur le devant de la scène, puisqu'il y avait des gens qui se promenaient dans les manifestations et rassemblements de Tea Party avec John Galt is back, ou des choses comme ça, ou I am John Galt carrément, pourquoi pas. Et par conséquent, et ça a été connu en France. Et à ce moment-là, on avait un petit peu parlé aussi, c'est le début d'un certain intérêt français pour Ayn Rand. Est-ce qu'on peut dire qu'en France, là j'échafaude une hypothèse tout à fait farfelue, il y aurait pu y avoir un effet Macron, quelconque qui aurait pu favoriser la diffusion de Rand. Je ne le crois pas, mais il est sûr que depuis l'année dernière, et avec tout ce qui s'était passé au moment des présidentielles, il y a davantage de réceptivité pour les idées classiquement libérales, même dans une version musclée, si l'on peut dire. Il y a quelque chose d'autre aussi qui a joué en faveur de la diffusion puis de la réception très positive de la grève maintenant en France, c'est que, assez génialement, Ayn Rand a choisi la voie de la fiction, de la littérature, pour diffuser ses idées. C'était le cas même avec déjà la source vive. Et en France, on aime bien la littérature. Le fait que ces idées soient portées par un roman et non pas par un ouvrage économique ou philosophique, etc., ça a également marché aux États-Unis. Si vous comparez les ventes d'Ayn Rand et par exemple de Hayek ou Mises, il n'y a pas photo. Il y en a 100 fois plus pour Ayn Rand. Donc, et en France, donc, le choix de la voie littéraire a beaucoup compté. Il y a des gens qui n'adhèrent pas tellement aux idées d'Ayn Rand, mais qui sont conquis par le roman lui-même, et sait-on jamais, ça peut contribuer à infuser. Je terminerai en essayant de répondre plus au fond sur la question, mais pourquoi est-ce que maintenant Ayn Rand peut être importante en France? Alors je crois que, en s'appuyant sur sa pensée, il y a trois choses qui sont dominantes en France, dans la pensée courante, c'est-à-dire aussi bien dans l'intelligentsia que dans les médias: l'anticapitalisme, l'anti-individualisme et l'antirationalisme. Or, il se trouve que sur ces trois points, le capitalisme, l'individualisme, le rationalisme, Ayn Rand apporte quelque chose de tellement important qu'elle est pratiquement seule à pouvoir le faire sur le plan des idées. Par exemple, alors, quelques points importants, mais là, je vais m'arrêter très vite, sinon on commencera à faire un séminaire sur la pensée d'Ayn Rand. Ce qui m'a toujours fasciné chez Ayn Rand, c'est l'importance qu'elle donne dans sa pensée, pas simplement à la loi d'identité. Vous avez tous, si vous êtes des lecteurs de la grève, vous connaissez évidemment le A et A qui scande une grande partie de l'ouvrage où l'existence existe, c'est-à-dire qu'il apporte en effet de prendre appui, j'y reviendrai un tout petit peu après, sur le réel. Mais elle explique également qu'il existe quelque chose d'autre, d'essentiel, qui est la loi de la causalité. Et elle dit la loi de la causalité, c'est la loi d'identité, le A et A en action. Là, je la cite pratiquement d'une façon explicite. Et ça donne quoi dans la réalité? Bien, ça donne par exemple quelque chose qui m'a toujours frappé chez elle, c'est l'importance qu'elle accorde au earned deserved, au gagné et mérité. C'est-à-dire que la loi de la causalité, elle s'applique aux êtres humains, et quand les êtres humains, quand les individus produisent des efforts qui sont productifs et efficients, eh bien, il est absolument légitime, logique, normal qu'ils reçoivent la récompense. Et vous avez la base morale du capitalisme selon Ayn Rand. Donc, vous voyez, vous partir d'idées extrêmement philosophiques sur la relation entre l'identité, la causalité, etc., en passant par la médiation de la responsabilité individuelle, c'est quelque chose qui peut servir, comme elle voulait le faire, à fonder moralement le capitalisme. En ce qui concerne l'anti-individualisme, puisque en France, malheureusement, comme parfois ailleurs, l'individualisme est toujours réduit à n'être que le narcissisme, l'égoïsme dans le mauvais sens du terme, le fait d'être asocial. Dans un pays où le tribalisme a encore autant de poids, et vous vous rappelez sans doute que Ayn Rand était l'ennemi juré du tribalisme, c'est-à-dire du collectivisme presque au sens sociologique, eh bien là encore, il y a quelque chose qui peut énormément apporter. L'individualisme bien compris, c'est-à-dire la responsabilité de soi, le fait d'être souverain, d'être propriétaire de soi, est quelque chose en effet qui peut tout à fait compter, d'autant plus que l'idéologie du welfare state en France, l'État-providence, l'État social, repose sur ce que Ayn Rand avait qualifié, donc à maintes reprises, par l'intermédiaire de John Galt, de l'altruisme sacrificiel. Combattre l'altruisme sacrificiel, et Ayn Rand aussi a pris soin, parce que là on n'y comprend absolument rien en France de ce point de vue-là, surtout que Mathieu Ricard est passé par là avec son livre sur l'altruisme, et Ayn Rand a pris l'altruisme au sens véritable du terme, celui forgé par le créateur du mot, qui est Auguste Comte. Et l'altruisme d'Auguste Comte, c'est se dévouer aux autres, les autres comptant plus que soi-même. On est évidemment aux antipodes de la pensée d'Ayn Rand, et Ayn Rand peut apporter quelque chose de tout à fait utile de ce point de vue-là. Et puis enfin, je terminerai sur l'apport qu'on peut attendre d'elle en ce qui concerne le rationalisme. Vous savez peut-être qu'une fois, je crois que c'était dans une interview au Los Angeles Times, alors les journalistes lui demandaient de résumer sa pensée, et Ayn Rand a eu cette formule que je connais par cœur. Elle a dit, je ne suis pas... Alors le journaliste me dit, mais vous êtes avocat du capitalisme. Ayn Rand répond, je ne suis pas, certes, mais je ne suis pas d'abord l'avocate du capitalisme, mais de l'égoïsme. Et puis, je ne suis pas d'abord l'avocate de l'égoïsme, mais de la raison. Et je crois qu'on ne comprend rien, et on ne peut pas faire apprécier Ayn Rand si on ne s'appuie pas sur ce rationalisme foncier qui est le sien. Et vous savez que l'un de ses ennemis préférés était aussi ce qu'elle appelle le mysticisme, et là John Galt est vraiment très disert là-dessus. Et comme on est à une époque où la plupart des gens se déterminent à coup de caprices, les fameux whims qu'on a dans le texte d'Ayn Rand, avec les émotions à fleur de peau, et ne prennent pas le temps de réfléchir rationnellement, et surtout tendent à ignorer le réel, je vous rappelle que le rationalisme, selon Ayn Rand, la vertu de rationalité, elle consiste en deux points fondamentaux. D'une part, saisir conceptuellement la réalité, on ne peut saisir bien la réalité qu'en la conceptualisant, et c'est A et A, en effet, les choses sont ce qu'elles sont, et on ne peut rien faire de solide dans la vie, dans la société, nulle part ailleurs, si on ne prend pas appui d'abord là-dessus. Et d'autre part, c'est aussi la logique. Donc prendre appui sur le réel, faire un effort pour le saisir tel qu'il est, et ensuite adopter une démarche logique, ça c'est le point de départ de tout, c'est quelque chose qui est pratiquement ignoré partout en France. Alors, j'en reste là, puisque Yaron maintenant va prendre la parole, mais je dirais que une première étape décisive a été franchie, avec cet accueil extraordinairement favorable et répété d'Ayn Rand dans les grands médias en France. Mais ce qui s'est passé, c'est surtout qu'elle est reconnue, on sait qu'elle existe. Alors en France, c'est déjà beaucoup. Hein. On sait qu'elle existe, on reconnaît son importance, son influence. Il y a une deuxième chose maintenant qui est à faire, ce sera la deuxième tâche pour ceux qui aiment Ayn Rand, c'est de la faire reconnaître sur le plan intellectuel, c'est-à-dire discuter avec elle, la prendre comme interlocutrice philosophique valable. Et pour moi, je pense que nos efforts seront couronnés si un jour, j'espère que ça arrivera sans trop tarder, le discours de John Galt figure au programme de l'agrégation de philosophie, aux côtés de gens comme Rawls, etc., qui ont le droit de citer, et si on se met à voir apparaître un peu partout des sujets de thèse, de doctorat, qui seraient centrés sur la pensée de Rand, avec des gens, en effet, des universitaires qui l'acceptent. Donc voilà mes deux, je ne dirais pas objectifs, mais mes deux espérances, et à ce moment-là, on pourra dire, ça y est, Rand est entrée dans, disons, le mainstream des grands penseurs, elle n'est plus rejetée, elle n'est plus à part, on ne lui demande pas non plus d'évincer tous les autres, mais il faut en effet reconnaître sa très grande importance sur le plan, avant tout, philosophique, puisque comme il a dit, hein, philosophie ou Nietzsche, c'est avant tout, sa démarche est avant tout d'ordre philosophique. Voilà, maintenant je peux passer la parole à Yaron.
Before we start, there are seats here. Why don't we take advantage of the break? Plenty of chairs. Okay, let me start with an apology. I can't speak French. I don't understand a word. I don't know what Alain just said, other than he mentioned Donald Trump a few times, and égoïste. That's about it. That's my vocabulary in French. So I apologize, and if I repeat or contradict I hope not. But anything Alain said, then I apologize, and hopefully we'll have some time afterwards for some questions. So I was asked to speak about why France needs Ayn Rand. Now, I don't know that I know enough specifically about France to say why France needs Ayn Rand, but I will talk about why Western civilization needs Ayn Rand, and France being, I think, a core member of what Western civilization is, and from where Western civilization came. I think the implication is obvious in terms of the specific context of France. I think that Ayn Rand believed, and I agree, that Western civilization is an incomplete project. It has not been finalized. Indeed as a consequence, it is today in decline and in real danger in the world out there. And when I talk about Western civilization, just to be clear, I'm not talking about a race or geography or a place. I'm talking about a set of ideas that I will get to. So I think Western civilization is under threat. It has been under threat before. It seems to survive the threats in the past. But I'm not sure that it is up to surviving today. And this is why I think Western civilization needs Ayn Rand. I think Ayn Rand completes the project that is Western civilization, that begun during the Enlightenment, or just before the Enlightenment, really reached its flourishing, if you will, during the Enlightenment. A project that we have been living the benefits of for the last 200 years, but a project that is being under attack. The Enlightenment has been under attack, and to me, the Western civilization is the Enlightenment, under attack constantly, consistently, systematically, really since the beginning of the 19th century, the end of the 18th century. One Frenchman and one German are primarily responsible. And I'd say the two people most responsible for the attacks on the Enlightenment were Rousseau and Kant. So what is the Enlightenment? What is Western civilization? What is the core of Western civilization? And ultimately, what can Ayn Rand add to these foundational, these ideas? Why do we so desperately need her? Western civilization, in my view, is basically two ideas. The first being the efficacy of reason. The idea that reason is our means of knowing the world. The idea that reason is efficacious. It is possible to know the world through our senses and through our ability to form concepts, to understand the world out there, to integrate it, and to integrate it to discover new knowledge. I think the first great thinker, in a sense, of the Enlightenment was Isaac Newton. He wasn't a philosopher, of course, but he was the first man to really, in a real way, show us, human beings, that we can understand the world. The material world is knowable. It is based on certain laws, and we can understand the laws. Almost everybody can understand Newton's laws. I mean, if you don't understand Newton's laws, it's because you had a bad physics teacher. They're not that hard. And what people realized suddenly, and it took Newton a long time to explain, and to go out there into the world and say, look, people, we can get it. Things move based on certain laws, and you can model this mathematically. And look, it's doable. You can use your reason to understand the world around you. Because before that, where did knowledge come from? Well, dominantly in the world, knowledge, people assume, came from revelation of one form or another. Whether religious revelation through the Pope, and then maybe, the Protestants said, no, the Pope doesn't have a unique relation to God, we all have. So each one of us had a relationship to God, and therefore each one of us could get the revealed truth. But the truth was revealed. It wasn't known. It wasn't induced from the facts of reality. It wasn't based on reason. Or it was a Platonic form, a secular form of revelation, where only the philosopher kings knew the real truth. We all live in a cave. we see shadows. If you know Plato's metaphor of the cave. We see shadows. Only the philosophers can see the light, can see real truth. Right? Newton says, in a sense, practically, no, all of us can discover truth. All of us have the tools to understand the real world. All of us can look at the sun and know the world. Now, that idea is profound. It's a resurrection. It's not a new discovery. It's an idea discovered by the Greeks. It's an Aristotelian idea. It's, in a sense, the reapplication of Aristotle to philosophy and to our lives that happens in the early part of the 18th century. They don't always identify it as Aristotle because they think Aristotle is the church, but it is Aristotle come back. That idea is at the core of everything. Everything falls apart if you give up on reason. And I think we today, in the culture out there, have given up on reason, have abandoned reason. Right? Today, we go on university campuses in America, and what we observe is the primacy of emotion. The primacy of revelation, in a sense. People know things because they know them. They don't need facts. They don't need evidence. They don't need science. They just know. I talk to, just to bring it to economics, to politics, you talk to socialists all the time. And it's stunning to me. Like, 100% of the evidence in the world suggests that socialism fails always, whenever applied and to the extent that it is applied. On the other hand, everywhere and any time capitalism is applied, in whatever dose it is applied, to whatever extent it is respected, property rights are respected. To that extent, wealth is creation and people become successful and wealthy and flourish. Nobody cares. Facts don't matter. Socialism just is good. It's good, they somehow know it. And they don't present counterfacts. It's not like they give you a counterfact. Oh, there's this one country where socialism really worked. They use Scandinavia, which is, of course, cheating, but because it's not socialist and it's not that successful, right? But they use Scandinavia. That's the best they can get. And of course, when you tell them Venezuela, communism, East Europe, all that, that wasn't real socialism. We haven't reached the Platonic ideal yet. Facts don't matter. Reality doesn't matter. They have preconceived ideas that shape all other ideas. Emotions in America today are at the primary, again, and socialism, I think, appeals to emotion because it appeals to a certain morality. It's a moral, emotional appeal. It's not a factual, it's not a reason-based appeal. I mean, the old socialists, a long time ago, were advocates of reason, and maybe they pretended to be scientific. And partially, they didn't yet have all the evidence. We have the evidence. It's done, right? There is no debate about socialism. There's one party that evades reality, another party pointing at facts that nobody cares about. So we are losing the battle for reason. And we have been losing for a long time. I mean, Kant challenges reason. He's really the first philosopher to challenge it. He basically says he's saving faith from reason. That is his big mission in life. He tells us that what we see in the world is not reality, very similar to Plato, if you will, that our very fact that we have senses and we have a brain distorts what we actually see, and therefore what we're seeing is not reality. And therefore, what we reason is really just the game we're playing inside our heads. It has nothing to do with actual reality. And since then, that has just developed and evolved through multiple philosophers, whether it's Hegel, who tells us that contradictions, embrace contradictions. Contradictions are wonderful. Really? Contradictions are exactly the opposite of what I think you said A is A, Aristotle's principle in metaphysics, that contradictions don't exist. There is no reason if you believe in contradictions. Reason depends on logic. Logic is the art of non-contradictory identification. It's about using your mind to solve contradictions, to get rid of seeming contradictions, to see what really is, where A is A. It's not B, it's not C, it's A. It can't be A and B at the same time. So this attack on reason, starting from Kant and Hegel and Schopenhauer and Marx and Nietzsche, it's all about the will, it's all about emotion, right? It's not about thinking. He doesn't write anything about reasoning. This attack on reason has been sustained, and today the postmoderns have no shame. I don't know if, postmodernism is, after all, a French idea, but it seems to have really been anchored solidly in the United States. But it is your philosophers that set it loose on the world, and they have no shame. They tell you there is no such thing as truth. Well, if there's no such thing as truth, why are we even discussing? Well, we shouldn't be, right? Just when you don't discuss, what is left? Follow orders. Do what you're told, or do what the authority tells you, because you don't know. Who knows what's right, wrong, what's true, what's false? So they reject the whole notion of truth, the whole notion of reality, the whole notion of objectivity, and the whole notion of reason is out the window. And all you're left with when you don't have reason is emotion. Because the fact is, I hope most of you agree with me on this, that there is no God to send us messages. And therefore anything we hear that God says is just us projecting our emotions onto the world. At the end of the day, all there is either reason or emotion, nothing else. When we abandon reason, we're left with emotion. And you see that in the gangs that roam around campuses beating people up. Not for anything, but just because they're angry and just because they don't like you. Right? And they're all in the name, by the way, of there's no truth. We're beating you up because there's no truth. So how dare you claim to have a truth? Now there's an implication of this idea of reason, which the Enlightenment, I think, recognized very early. Who reasons is the next question. Who can reason? Well, all of us can reason. Every human being has the capacity to reason. This is what Newton, to some extent, taught us. We can all understand the world, but we as individuals must understand it. There is no collective consciousness. Just like there's no collective stomach so that you can eat for me. There is no collective brain where you can think for me, where you can reason for me. Only I can use my faculty of reason, just like only I can eat for me. So reason is an attribute of the individual, not of the group, not of the collective, not of the tribe, of the individual. And every individual has this faculty, has this ability. So when people started to think in the early 18th century, well, wait a minute, if I can understand the physical world, if I have reason, if I can know reality, then why can't I make choices about my life? Why can't I know what the right profession is for me? Right? We're talking about a feudal era still, right? The remnants of feudalism. Why can't I choose my own profession? Why can't I choose my own government? Why can't I choose how to live my life for me? And this is, again, the second concept on which the Enlightenment and the Western civilization rest, which is the concept of individualism. It's the idea that my life belongs to me. It's an idea that John Locke talks about when he talks about individual rights. Politically, you are autonomous entity. The role of the state, the role of government is only to protect you as an individual. Only you can be responsible for your own life. Only you can be responsible for your own happiness. And you should be striving towards happiness, at least according to the Declaration of Independence, right? You have an inalienable right that nobody can take away from you to pursue happiness, which the founders of America understood. So there are two fundamental ideas here. Reason and individualism. The primacy of the individual, which is what Western civilization is about. Without these ideas, there is no Industrial Revolution. There is no America. If you read the American Declaration of Independence, it is an ode to individualism and ultimately to reason. If you read the founding document, the founding fathers, they talk about reason constantly. They are Renaissance men in the sense that they dabble in science, and as flawed as the founding of America is, and it certainly is flawed because they keep the institution of slavery, it is the most magnificent political event in human history, in my view. I apologize for your revolution wasn't quite that good. Because I think it was more Rousseau than it was Enlightenment. It was more, ultimately egalitarianism, but not in the political sense, but in a broader sense than it was individualism. So these are the two ideas. Now, reason has been attacked constantly. And of course, as a consequence of that, so has individualism. Individualism don't matter. We were told during the nationalist revolutions of the 19th century, what matters is the tribe. What matters is the group. What matters is the state. And where the borders are of this state is the most important thing in the world. And if we have to sacrifice millions of kids, individuals, in order to define and defend those particular borders rather than other borders, so be it. You don't matter anyway. And of course, individualism was massively attacked in the 20th century by communism and by fascism. The ultimate in collectivism. The ultimate in the idea that the group is what matters. And of course, the ultimate attack on reason. Individuals don't matter. Individuals don't think. Truth is revealed. It's revealed to somehow to this collective consciousness, which is the proletarian, or the collective consciousness that is the Aryan race. Now, since there isn't a collective consciousness, we know that, but don't tell anybody, right? We need a leader to be able to, a philosopher king, to be able to commune with this collective consciousness and tell us what it thinks. And that's how you get authoritarianism. But authoritarians always say, I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for you. I'm just discovering the truth and communicating to you. And it turns out that we have to sacrifice a huge number of people in the world in order to satisfy the will of the proletarian or the will of the Aryan race. 20 million, 100 million, 200 million. The sky's the limit when it comes to sacrificing individuals. But that is the rejection of the Enlightenment. Communism and Nazism are the rejection of the ideas of individualism and of reason. They are the rejection of the ideas of Western civilization. They are not bad parts of Western civilization. They are the enemy of Western civilization. Nazism and communism are not part of. They're the rejection of. As is the whole string of German philosophers that I mentioned, of which communism and Nazism, in my view, is the logical outcome, the necessary outcome. Collectivism always leads to destruction and death. Now, we survived the Nazis, we survived the fascists, and ultimately we survived the communists. But we're badly wounded. We've lost, well, we know what we reject. We reject this particular form of collectivism. And we reject murder and slaughter for the most part. What are we for? Nobody in the West today knows. We live a life, for the most part, based on reason and individualism. We love technology. We love science still. We have respect for technology and science. We try to be happy. If you go to any bookstore, I assume in France it's the same. You have aisles of self-help book. We all want to be better. We all want to achieve happiness somehow. But we can't name it. And indeed, remnants of the anti-Enlightenment mentality, both from German philosophy but also from Christianity, are still strongly embedded in this culture. It's still true that we hold as moral, not the pursuit of happiness, not the pursuit of individual fulfillment, flourishing, Aristotelian eudaimonia, or Ayn Rand, egoism. What we value still morally, what we say we value, we might not live this way, is altruism, sacrifice, giving up for other people. Other people are more important than myself. And altruism, I don't mean altruism as being nice to people and opening a door and being polite. Egoists do that. I'm talking about altruism as viewing the purpose of your life to serve others. Mother Teresa, that's my image. She hated her life. She did it out of duty. She did it because she believed it was moral and just. That sense, which we all have deep inside, if we grew up in this world, that was brought to us, I think, primarily by Christianity, but also by a great French, another French philosopher, Auguste Comte, who encourages us to eliminate self for the sake of others. These ideas are deep inside of us, and we struggle with the ideas of the Enlightenment and these anti-Enlightenment ideas, these ideas that undercut Enlightenment thinking. Now, in my view, Ayn Rand gives us the tools to finish the Enlightenment project. I think the Enlightenment was weakened. You could argue failed, but I don't think it failed because we still live in an enlightened world, even if it's in decline. Ayn Rand gives us the tools to fully understand and justify reason. So I think that Locke and the rest of the French Enlightenment and the Scottish Enlightenment, while incredible people and it created enormous value, they didn't get to the heart, philosophical heart of reason. They couldn't completely articulate the case for reason. They didn't have a solid theory of concept and concept formation and how we understand the world and how we abstract and what it means to abstract and how we induce. And they didn't have a complete theory of inducing knowledge from reality. Ayn Rand does. At least she has the beginnings of one. She calls it Introduction to Objectivist Epistemology, because she still realized there was still a lot of work to do, but at least she gives us the tools to develop epistemology fully for full, complete defense of reason, which is what I think is the most important thing that needs to happen today, as the attack on reason is again intensifying in the West. She gives us an understanding of individualism that never existed. Again, because I think even the Enlightenment figures, particularly the Scottish Enlightenment, the French less so, were so imbued with Christianity that they couldn't give up on Christian morality. They couldn't give up on sacrifice as an ideal. They couldn't give up the idea that sacrifice was noble, that living for others was good, that the meek shall inherit the earth. They couldn't quite, even the founding fathers, couldn't quite give all that up. You know, Thomas Jefferson took the Bible, the New Testament, and cut it up, and he threw away all the parts he didn't like, which is all the mysticism he didn't like. So he was a man of reason. But he kept the Sermon on the Mount, because he viewed that as a moral philosophy. That is a really, really bad moral philosophy, if you take it seriously. And it's a moral philosophy that imbues the West today. And it's a moral philosophy that needs to be rejected. And there is no moral thinker that presents an alternative to the Sermon on the Mount other than Ayn Rand. I mean, Aristotle and then Ayn Rand. Spinoza maybe a little bit in between. But there is no alternative in the world today other than Rand's to the idea of sacrifice. Ayn Rand presents a moral theory. Not just a little bit here and there, but a moral theory for living life. A moral theory for living life for oneself. Because who else should you live it for? It doesn't mean you treat other people like garbage. Other people are huge value to you. But it means that your standard by which you make decisions is your own life, is your own flourishing, is your own value. It means that each one of us as individuals needs to strive to be the best that we can be as individuals, as human beings, as complete human beings, as reasoning animals, as rational animals. This small code, I think, is, you know, since I don't really understand epistemology that much, this to me is what the heart of what Ayn Rand's ideas are. This to me is why I fell in love with Ayn Rand. I fell in love with Ayn Rand because for the first time somebody said to me, it's okay to live for you, for yourself. It's okay to aspire to be happy. It's okay to live a complete and fulfilling life. The moral ideal is not Christ on a cross dying a painful, excruciating death for sins he did not commit, for sins other people committed. I can't think of anything more unjust than putting Jesus on the cross. No, life is to be enjoyed. Life is to be embraced. Life is to be lived fully. That's Ayn Rand's morality, in a superficial, quick way. Right? I encourage you all to read The Virtue of Selfishness. Her book, is it in French? Mm-hmm. Which is in French. Because I think that's a revelation. Now, all of the morality is in Atlas Shrugged. Because for Ayn Rand, the moral ideal is not Christ on a cross. It's John Galt. It's the man who felt no guilt, no unearned guilt, no original sin. The man who lives for himself, asks no other man to live for him, but will not live for anybody else, but for himself, for the fulfillment of his own values at nobody's expense, but as a trader in win-win relationships with other human beings, with other people. So these to me are the foundational ideas. These two ideas of reason and individualism are the foundational ideas of Ayn Rand's philosophy. I believe she completes the Enlightenment project, or at least adds significantly to it, for us maybe, to fully complete, to the extent that there's still philosophical work to fill in the defense of reason and defense of individualism. But Ayn Rand takes us a long way. Ayn Rand is primarily a philosopher, primarily has something to say about reason and individualism or egoism, capitalism as a political and economic system. I think are outcomes of that. If you are an individualist, that is, you care about your own life, and you're capable of knowing the world through your reason, you don't need mother government sitting on your shoulder telling you how much to pay your employees or how much to take as an employee, what soda you're allowed to drink and what food you're not allowed to drink, what drugs you're allowed to consume and what drugs you're not. And I'm talking about the healthy ones, but anyway, it's none of anybody's business. Right? And if you are a real individualist, if you're an egoist, you don't want anybody telling you what to do. You want to discover truth by yourself. You want to go out there and try and experiment and learn and fail and succeed and learn from your failures and move in life. You don't need government regulations and controls, and you certainly don't want government taking 50% of your money, which represents 50% of your time, which represents 50% of your life. It's yours because you're an egoist and you care about what your stuff is. Put aside all the economic theory and all that. At the end of the day, that's not what's important. I mean, it's all consistent, right? But at the end of the day, it's not about maximizing some utility function or maximizing the GDP of France. Who cares? It's about maximizing my freedom to live as I see fit so that I can pursue the values necessary for my life, for my happiness. And yeah, it turns out that GDP is maximized when you do that. But that's not a starting point, and it's not, this is the big difference objectivists have with libertarians. We don't start with economics. We end with economics. We end with politics. We don't start there. We start with reason and individualism. We start with the foundation, the philosophical foundations, I believe, of liberty. I believe of the enlightenment of any successful society. So France needs Ayn Rand because the whole of Western civilization needs Ayn Rand because we're in decline. These ideas are under attack. Ayn Rand has the best answers out there for the attack. She is the best defense of Western civilization that exists in the world today. The rise of collectivism, the rise of tribalism, the rise of emotionalism can only be dealt with through philosophy, through a philosophical attack on them. And Ayn Rand gives us the best tools to do that. But more than that, and I'll just end with this note, the most important thing, in my view, about Ayn Rand's philosophy is not what it does for France. It's not what it does for Western civilization. It's not what it does for any country or place or anything like that. It's what it can do for you as an individual and what it can do for them as individuals out there. At the end of the day, a life of unreason, a life filled with unearned guilt, a life filled with collectivistic ideas that you don't actually live, or some people do live, but that are constantly tugging at you, is an unhappy, miserable, pathetic life. It's a life filled with angst, with anxiety. Ayn Rand is the ultimate self-help. Ayn Rand is the ultimate philosophy for living a life free of unearned guilt, a life that makes it possible to flourish and to be truly happy, to truly achieve happiness in life. So at the end of the day, it's the individuals who need Ayn Rand more than it is any civilization or any country or anything like that, because Ayn Rand is primarily a philosopher of and for the individual. Thank you. Questions?
First of all, sorry for my English and for my accent.
It's fine.
Sorry for everyone.
The accent is kind of cute.
Thank you. Have you read the biography by Alain Laurent of Ayn Rand? And if no, I explain why.
I have not. I
asked the question because if you are French, there is not a lot of book translated in French about Ayn Rand.
Sure.
You have some of her novels, and maybe the only one book about Ayn Rand is Alain Laurent's book. And in the last two chapters, and Alain Laurent will correct me if I say something wrong, what you learn about Ayn Rand, that she's not a real philosopher, that she have never read Kant or Nietzsche or Plato, and that the influence of Aristotle is maybe a fraud, and all stuff like that, and about her personality, that she's like almost hysterical or stuff like that. And this is the image, the only image you can have in French when you read. So I agree with all these statements that Alain Laurent wrote in his book.
So I'm respectfully going to disagree. Certainly she read Kant, certainly she read all of those philosophers. I don't think there's any evidence she didn't read them. And there is evidence she did. Evidence of people who knew her personally and who knew philosophy because they studied it, they got PhDs in philosophy, and who had conversations with her directly. So I disagree with that. I disagree with the idea of I don't understand, I guess, the idea of Aristotle's influence as a fraud. She had a temperament. She was a passionate person. I think most geniuses are. I don't think she was, I don't make a big deal out of that. I don't think it's that significant. She had a temper, yeah. When she saw an injustice, she saw something wrong, she had a temper. She certainly didn't like certain people. And she let you know when she didn't like them. But I don't know, I mean, I have not seen anybody say Ayn Rand's wrong about Kant. Here's the reference. What she said about Kant, and again, verified by philosophers who studied with her and studied philosophy as well, I think is legitimate. I also don't buy this notion, and I know a lot of the biographies, even in English, present this, of her being miserable and depressed and so on. I again, based on people who knew her, I just don't think that's true. Again, was she angry? Sure. Was she depressed when Atlas Shrugged didn't succeed the way she thought it would succeed? The people didn't respond to it the way she thought? Yeah. But she got back on her feet and started writing nonfiction, right? And she spent all the 60s and 70s writing and working. And to the day she died, she was working. On the week that she died, she was still writing. She was writing a television adaptation of Atlas Shrugged. From what I know, she was a happy person. She was a difficult person. She was a principled person. She was a passionate person. But she was not a miserable or depressed or nasty person, as so many of other people's biographies, again, I haven't read Alain, so I can't comment, but other people's biographies have presented her as. And I'm hoping there'll be a definitive biography coming out, which will document what courses she took in college, what books she read. I mean, part of the thing is you can go to her library. We have the library in the Ayn Rand archives. And you can see the books she read, and you can see her annotations on the books.
Yes, but most French
No, I know.
speak only in French, and they have the only book. I suggest.
And even in
you
English,
get
these views are.
of the two last chapters because it's very interesting the image that we can have in France, and also the fact that Alain Laurent just said that we have the virtue of selfishness in French. It's important to precise that it's just some chapter, just 7 chapters on the 19 chapter.
Okay. Does it have the main essay, the objectivist ethics?
Yes.
Good. Well, that's the most important one. Did you want to comment?
Bien. J'ai jamais employé le mot hystérique.
Je n'ai pas dit que vous l'aviez employé.
Ah bon, oui, mais c'est ce qu'on aurait pu comprendre. Deuxièmement, vous sélectionnez des passages où, en effet, je rapporte ce qui se rendait même parfois dans des milieux randiens, en oubliant le reste. Mais là, je reviens à ce que je disais tout à l'heure. Ça ne sert, je crois, rigoureusement à rien de transformer Ayn Rand en une sorte de sainte. Elle est humaine, très humaine. Et sur le plan purement philosophique, je maintiens ce que j'ai dit. Dans une démarche philosophique, on cite ses sources. On cite les passages dont on parle. Et on les réfute. Ce qu'elle n'a jamais dit. Pour une raison bien simple d'ailleurs, c'est que malheureusement, Ayn Rand n'a jamais publié, si on accepte le long discours de John Gould, elle a toujours dit qu'elle allait le faire, mais elle ne l'a jamais fait, un ouvrage où elle aurait développé longuement, patiemment, rigoureusement ses idées. Ce qu'elle a publié, hors ses romans, ce sont des articles, des interviews, des entretiens, etc., qui ont au maximum une quinzaine de pages. Alors, en effet, ça explique que là, elle ne peut pas, en effet, prendre appui sur des références. Mais je maintiens formellement que quelqu'un qui veut mériter le titre de philosophe doit argumenter en citant intégralement ses sources, en les réfutant, etc. C'est ça qui est ennuyeux. D'ailleurs, il y a de nombreuses sources qui indiquent également aux États-Unis que, en effet, souvent, elle, sans doute pas sur Aristote, parce qu'elle l'avait lu dans sa jeunesse étudiante, mais pour les autres, visiblement, elle ne les a jamais lus. C'est de seconde main. Et ça, c'est tout de même fâcheux. Et moi, je n'ai pas voulu, en tant qu'intellectuel, avaliser une image tout à fait fantastique d'Ayn Rand qui, en effet, aurait totalement maîtrisé les gens dont elle parle. En particulier sur Kant, il y aurait beaucoup à dire là-dessus. Encore que souvent, elle a parfois plus raison qu'elle ne le croit, mais comme ce serait mieux si, en effet, c'était longuement argumenté, charpenté, avec des références. Ça, c'est valable pour Kant, c'est valable aussi pour quelques autres. Et je ne crois pas du tout, là je suis en désaccord total avec vous, mais je ne crois pas du tout que ça donne une image fausse et mauvaise d'Ayn Rand, la preuve.
I would just encourage you to make your own judgment. At the end of the day, you have to judge for yourself. And I encourage you, to the extent you can read in English, but what's available in French is great. And then read the rest in English, because there's a lot to read. And there's a new book that came out called The Companions Ayn Rand's Ideas. It just came out about a year ago by a number of scholars. Well, that's 100 voices, but the real... This is good for her personality and for her life. It's 100 different interviews with 100 different people who knew her. But I think for the philosophy, The Companions Ayn Rand is written by philosophers, each one writing an essay from a different perspective on her philosophy and explaining it, but also analyzing it. So I think it's the most valuable book out there written by, about her, available today. I also recommend Leonard Peikoff's philosophy, Objectivism to Philosophy of Ayn Rand, which I think is the definitive philosophical statement of her ideas, integrated into one book. And it might be out there, but there it is. Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for your speech. In the light of what you said about the embedded Christianity in all of us and the attacks on reason, it made me think about my becoming a libertarian. Two things come to mind after what you said. It's when I discovered Pyrrhonism. It's like discrediting pseudomedicines and things like that, and arguing about the reason in medicine and in medical things. So that was one of the first things in my life that was that defined reason for me. And the second thing was when I became an atheist. I was a hardcore, passionate believer. I wanted to be a priest at one point, and then I flipped totally, and I became a hardcore atheist because I read something that. These two transformations, I think, paved the way to my becoming a libertarian. That came a few years after. And when I recalled these moments, it was incredible because my brain was actually, I felt my brain really working without anchor. I was like lighter and free and happy. And that's, I think that's why it paved the way to my becoming.
Yeah, that's a great story, and I think you've identified something important, really, really important. Now, there'll be a lot of people who tell you, a lot of libertarians are Christians, or Jews, or Muslims, or whatever. So, and I get into trouble all over the world. Because a lot of the lead thinkers today in the libertarian world are Christians. But I'm not a libertarian in that sense. I'm an objectivist. And, I share certain political principles with libertarians, but I don't believe in a big tent. And I think we are doomed to lose the case for freedom if we anchor it in religion. Religion is mysticism, religion is Christian ethics, and the Christian ethics and mysticism are incompatible with freedom. Never mind libertarianism, they're incompatible with freedom. This is why when any civilization at any point in human history that has taken religion seriously and given religious authorities political power has always been authoritarian. Whether it's Old Testament Jews, or whether it's the communities of Hasidic Jews, which are basically authoritarian in their little communes, or whether it's post-Roman Empire or during Roman Empire Christianity, once it became political, whether it's the Catholic Church, to some extent to this day, or whether it's Calvin and Calvin's Geneva. They were dictatorships, and they have to be dictatorships. There is no other way to handle it. So now again, I get into trouble with this. So my religious libertarian friends will come and talk to you, I'm sure. But I think those two are incompatible. And I at Mont Pelerin, I don't know if you're familiar with Mont Pelerin Society, at the last big meeting of the Mont Pelerin Society, Classical Liberal Society, they had a debate between me and a Catholic. The moderator was a Catholic priest, so it was 2 against 1. About whether religion is compatible with freedom or not, and I strongly took the stand that it's not. And in that sense, I think Europe has an advantage over America, because I think America has religion is way too embedded. Not that Americans take their religion really seriously, but the more seriously they take it, the more we move away from freedom. The rise of evangelical Christianity has brought about the destruction of the Republican Party and the move away from freedom. And it's no accident the evangelicals, and I don't know what Alain said about Donald Trump, but I view Donald Trump as a big step backwards, away from freedom. And it's no accident the evangelicals supported Trump. They support the element of authoritarianism in Trump.
Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins, your big reader? Or?
Well, the problem with Christopher Hitchens and Dawkins, as much as I respect their views on atheism, is that they are Christians when it comes to morality. So they have internalized Christian morality and adopted it and secularized it and accepted. And as a consequence of accepting that morality, they have accepted socialism, basically. So they've accepted statism. But it's not that they start with statism. They start with morality. They start with the idea that the individual doesn't matter. And Dawkins even has a genetic theory about why the collective matters and altruism is genetically coded and all this nonsense. So he starts with the morality and then derives his socialism from that. And unfortunately, Sam Harris is tinged with the same thing, although I think Sam Harris is better than Dawkins and Hitchens. Although you gotta love Hitchens sometimes when he goes after certain groups. He can be incredibly articulate and amazing. And Hitchens, I respect this about Hitchens. Hitchens is one of the few contemporary intellectuals who realized that Ayn Rand was the enemy and spent significant amounts of time in his talks attacking her. And I respect that. Most of them just ignore her. So,
Yeah.
you had a question? Yeah.
Yes. You mentioned the case of Scandinavia. I have a friend, a socialist friend, who is very passionate and stubborn about it. I've been trying to convince him that it wasn't really socialism, that
Yeah.
it wasn't that effective, but it's not working. So what do you think I should tell him?
Well, I'm not sure you can tell him anything that'll work, but I do have at least one video and maybe a couple of podcasts just on Scandinavia. So there's a lot of content of it, but just a quick outline. Scandinavia, Sweden in particular, from 1870 until 1955-60, was the most capitalist country in Europe, and maybe in the world, and certainly, and as a consequence, went from being the poorest country in Europe in 1870 to the richest country in Europe in the early years after World War II. Partially, it was the richest because World War II destroyed the rest of Europe, and Sweden remained relatively unscathed. But also, before World War II, it was a very rich country. Many of the biggest industries in Europe were based in Sweden as a consequence of the freedom that was allowed. In 1960, they decided to go to socialism. They took all their wealth that they had built up over 90 years or so and started redistributing it. And they redistributed and became poorer and poorer and poorer. Until in 1979, what was the largest income-producing industry in Sweden? ABBA, the rock group. Number 2, Yaron Brook, the tennis player. So industry was gone. Big business was gone out of Sweden because it was too regulated, it was too taxes, too much. And then by 1994, Sweden was Greece of today. Sweden was bankrupt. Sweden couldn't pay their debts. And since 1994, the government of Sweden has been reducing government spending, reducing redistribution of wealth, and dramatically reducing regulation. So indeed, Sweden today is less regulated business-wise than America is, than the United States or America is. And so Sweden today is not more socialist in any significant way than the United States or America is. It's just got a different set of mixed economy. All economies in the West are mixed. Some with more statism and less freedom, some with more freedom and less statism, but they're all mixed. And most of them are mixed about the same place, right? We all, tend to spend on a total about between 40 to 60% of GDP. We're right in the middle. The United States is closer to 40. If you add up federal, state, and local governments, it's close to 40. Sweden is like close to 50. I don't know where France is. I think it's closer to 60. France. Yeah. So they're all between 40 and 60, right? So they're all statist. They're all government run, basically. Gone are the days where the federal government in the United States in the 19th century spent 3.5% of GDP. Today, the federal government spends 20%. 3.5. You could cut government spending at the federal level by 80% and give back to the wonderful, in my view, economy of the 19th century. So, that's just the beginning. But you could go on in detail about the fact that Swedes are always happy. When you survey Swedes, they're happy, right? In all happiness studies, Swedes are very happy. Because when you go to Sweden and you ask Swedes, are you happy? You're supposed to say yes. I'm Jewish in origin, right? When you ask a Jew if you're happy, nobody says yes. It's like it goes against everything you believe in to say yes. You're happy? How can you be happy? Look at all the problems in life and everything. So these studies are silly. And by the way, Swedes in America are just as happy as Swedes in Sweden. Swedes in America live longer or just as long as Swedes in Sweden. Swedes in America live in bigger houses, drive bigger cars, have more wealth than Swedes in Sweden. So when you control for variables, suddenly you discover that all the Sweden is good effects go away. They go away. Now there's a selection bias, you could argue, because the best Swedes went to America. Yes.
Nowadays, what's the status of the works of Nathaniel Branden and the Ayn Rand Institute? Are his works promoted or ignored or criticized? I'm asking this question because I'm a big fan of Ayn Rand, and at the same time, I like his works. I've read his autobiography, The Psychology of Self-Esteem, The Psychology of Romantic Love, which I found really interesting. I know that he was very criticized when he broke up with Ayn Rand by Ayn Rand's friends. So what do you think about him?
So he is cited and his works are promoted from the period where he worked with Ayn Rand. So from the Psychology of Self-Esteem, which she helped him, she edited it, but was published after they split, but she was involved in writing it. All through all the books of essays, Virtue of Selfishness, Capitalism, all have essays by Nathaniel Branden and included in it, and she wanted them to stay in the books and to continue to be promoted, the existing work. We do not promote the work that he did after, for a couple of reasons. One is, I mean, I don't want to get into a big debate about this, but I consider him a bad guy. He might have been a good psychologist, but I consider him a bad human being. I think he did significant damage to the objectivist movement. I think he led the objectivist movement, unfortunately under Ayn Rand's guidance, in a negative direction. He was dogmatic. He was a nasty person. He treated people. I mean, he writes about psychology, but it's weird how people who write about psychology tend to be angry, nasty people. But he was a nasty person. He treated people on a one-on-one basis in a horrible way. So we don't promote him after that because we don't want to promote a guy who we consider a bad person. I do think his works written right after the split with Ayn Rand, particularly the Psychology of Romantic Love, I think are good. So there's good work. I think the more further away from Ayn Rand he got, the worse he got. And he started dabbling in mysticism and in men's rights and all kinds of weird things. Later on in life, he did seances, all kinds of strange stuff. So that is later in life, I think in the late 70s and going into the 80s. So I'd say the early work are his best work and is good. And I'm sure that in the future, objectivist psychologists who study Ayn Rand will also study his work and refer to it. I'm not a psychologist. I'm a finance guy.
Is there any other famous Randian psychologist?
Unfortunately, no. Although I think that she and Nathaniel Branden had a significant influence on psychology. The whole rise today of the cognitive psychology movement, and even elements within the positive thinking movement. Although I think some of that's primacy of consciousness. But the whole idea of cognitive psychology, the idea that emotions are derived from ideas and what we think and the conclusions we come to, all of that comes from the work of Ayn Rand and comes from the work of Nathaniel Branden. So I think she's had a profound impact on the field of psychology, even though I can't say that this particular psychologist read Ayn Rand and what the links are. But you can see that the whole discussion of self-esteem really starts, I mean, with Ayn Rand, and Ayn Rand makes it a cardinal value, right? It's one of the three cardinal values, self-esteem. And self-esteem was not a psychological term until really the 1960s, until Nathaniel Branden, Ayn Rand, and then Nathaniel Branden bring it in. And then it becomes, and then it gets distorted, and today it's nonsense. But at least the discussion of the concept was Ayn Rand. I mean, I'll say this just generally. I believe Ayn Rand's had a profound impact on the culture already. I think concept like self-esteem, concept like capitalism. Capitalism in the 50s and 60s was a dirty word. And the only two people who spoke up for capitalism in a popular way, in a way that affected the culture, are Ayn Rand and Milton Friedman. And by the 1980, capitalism is okay word. By the time Reagan and Thatcher are elected, they can talk about capitalism. That's because of the work Ayn Rand. So I think in many ways, subtle ways, not embracing the entire philosophy, Ayn Rand has already had a substantial impact. There's good evidence to suggest that the draft was eliminated in the United States because of people who associate with Ayn Rand and who brought her ideas in front of Nixon and got rid of the draft, an important pro-liberty moment. So there's a lot of things I think that have happened. We tend to be too pessimistic about the influence. Yeah, in the back.
Thank you for your talk. What was the core of your talk, I think, was this idea of Renaissance and Enlightenment not being achieved. And
Fully manifest, yeah.
Yeah, and being under attack.
Yeah.
I agree with this idea, and I'm questioning the why. And you say that what is under attack is individualism and rationalism, And my personal feeling is that at some point in the process of enlightenment, there was an idea which was really in the core of the writings at that time, was res publica. Res publica. No?
No. Translate, somebody?
Okay. In Latin, res is the thing, publica is the common thing.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
So this is the origin of republic.
Yes.
Res publica.
Yeah.
In Latin.
Many, one.
Okay?
Yes.
It's the idea of general interest as a goal.
Yes.
And the only non-negotiable thing being the world being governed for the general interest.
Yes.
And at some point, at least in France, we stopped making any distinction between res publica and demos kratos,
Yes.
democracy.
Yeah.
Okay? Which is absolutely not the same. Res publica was a goal to achieve, a focus point. It requires an analysis. It requires rationalism. Maybe it requires, as a step, to think individualism as well. But once you start confusing res publica and demos kratos, what is it? What is democracy? Democracy.
The rule of the mob.
But it's not an objective, it's a methodology. So as soon as you start confusing the objective, the site, the focus point, and a methodology, an idea of methodology, you're losing your way. And then you cannot achieve enlightenment. That's what it's not a question, it's something I share with you to have your opinion on that. And we do not have a system, we have a religion. Because democracy is a religion with its own kind of Bible, which is human rights. So as soon as you are in a religion with a Bible, you're not in analysis, individualism, science, you're in believing.
Yes.
That's why I want to suggest. I think we did not achieve.
So I agree with
because
you.
of this.
I agree with you, but I would suggest that the points I made are more fundamental. That what you're identifying, which is true, is the consequence of abandoning reason and abandoning individualism. That the consequence of abandoning those things, we abandon the idea of a republic and the meaning of laws and the meaning of the rule of law. And we embraced, because we lost what that means, because I think we lost the concept of individual rights as Locke understood it. We lost that. And maybe France never had it, right? I mean, there's a possibility France never had it completely. And Britain ultimately, Bentham says individual rights are nonsense on stilts, right? Super nonsense. So already in the 19th century, they're chipping away at the idea of individual rights. I think once you lose that, then what's left, right? What's left is whatever the majority wants. And what does the majority want? Whatever they feel. And that's emotion, and that's the loss of individuals. And the whole idea of an inalienable individual rights is the idea that the majority can't take it away from you. And that's what the American Republic is built on, is the idea of the individual sovereignty, and that the government is not there to, you see, and this is partially the understanding of republic, common good. I think there is no such thing as the common good. All there is the good of the individual. What is in the common good, in the proper sense, is to protect the individual. And not to think, when we aggregate individuals, what good do we get? That thinking is a wrong thing. It leads to collectivism and leads ultimately to democracy. So I think even the concept of republic was perverted.
Yeah, that's why as soon as we stop thinking in terms of res publica and republic,
but you see, I think we stopped thinking in terms of individuals and in terms of reason,
yes.
And then as a consequence, we stopped thinking in terms of republic.
Yes, if you lose the word, you lose the idea. Instead of that word, instead of the idea, you replace it by an idea which is collectivism.
Yes.
Because democracy is nothing else.
Yeah.
Then you lose the way, and you cannot achieve this enlightenment process.
I agree with you, and I agree with your characterization of democracy as a religion. I think it certainly is today. I mean, you can say you can criticize almost anything today, but if you criticize democracy, people flip out. They think you're the devil, and it's the worst thing in the world. And they don't realize there's an alternative. They think democracy, authoritarianism. Those are the options, and they don't realize there's a third alternative.
And then do not realize that there are countries in the world or organizations where you are pursuing general interests that are not democracies,
Yes.
like Singapore or like a family. Yeah? A family is not a
Or a
democracy.
corporation,
A
or many others.
corporation is not a democracy.
For Ayn Rand, what is moral or not? I mean,
Yeah.
how we test, Ayn Rand test to decide what is moral or not.
The moral is that which supports human life, which that is good for human life. The immoral is that which threatens human life. It's that which is bad for human life. And then she says, now it's a scientific question. Let's look at the world and see what things support human life and what things threaten human life. And if you read the Objectivist Ethics and the Virtue of Selfishness, and it's in, that essay is in French in the book, she then articulates, well, what she thinks is the most important thing that supports human life. And for her, the most important thing that supports human life is to use your mind, is to think that all human values are the creation of human thought, of human reason, everything. And therefore, to her, the number one value, the thing to act, to gain, or keep, the thing you want, is reason. And the number one virtue, the action to take, is to be rational. And then she articulates a whole system of what she believes are the principles that are consistent with life, are consistent with success in life, and those which are consistent with failure. Those would be vices, failure is vices, and those who are successful are virtues. So to her, it's a science. What's good for human life? Just like nutrition, right? A doctor in nutrition says, these foods are good for you, these foods are bad for you. And it's hard to tell. And nutritionists disagree. But they agree on the standard. All nutritionists agree that the standard is human health. The difference is that in ethics, we don't agree. Some people think the standard should be other people, and Ayn Rand says the standard should be you, your well-being as a human being. Now, we can have different philosophers disagree about what constitutes human well-being. Aristotle and Ayn Rand would disagree about what constitutes human well-being. But the standard of virtue, the standard of morality, is your well-being, your life, your survival, your ability to flourish as a human being in life. Feel free to jump in, Alain.
I have a question. It may sound stupid, but I would like
Sure.
you to.
You won't be the first one.
I would like you to explain the Trump paradox, because he says to be very influenced by Ayn Rand, and she seems to be very collectivist or libertarian. So how do you explain this paradox?
Sure. So there's nowhere where Trump claims to be influenced by Ayn Rand. There's not a single place where he claims that. What he said, the only quote I know that he mentions Ayn Rand, he said that Fountainhead was one of his favorite novels. So what, right? Victor, Les Miserables or 93 is one of my favorite novels. Doesn't mean I agree with Hugo about everything, and doesn't agree, Hugo is a socialist. I'm not a socialist, but I love his novels. So Trump read Fountainhead. Maybe it's because it's about architecture and he's a developer. Who knows what he got out of it? I mean, I have a very low view of Trump. I don't think he's very smart. And I doubt that he finished the Fountainhead, and I really doubt he understood it, philosophically. I think very few people understand the Fountainhead, and I certainly don't think Trump is one of them. Nothing he says, no policy he holds, no belief that he has is consistent with Ayn Rand. Mm-hmm. He generally wants to deregulate the economy, fine, but he doesn't really. He doesn't know what he wants. He has no philosophy, he has no ideas, he has no beliefs, he has no system. So he absorbs. Somebody said, did a little research project on how he came up with Drain the Swamp. Somebody suggested, draining the swamp sounds good. Trump said, yeah, let me try that. And he went on a speech and he said, drain the swamp. And everybody went, yeah, we want to drain the swamp. And he said, okay, that works, so I'm going to keep saying it, right? He is a marketer. He is good at marketing. He has his name on all his hotels, Trump everywhere. He is good at marketing. And that's what he did. He looked at the election and he said, what can I say that'll get people to vote for me? Does Trump really believe trade is bad? I don't know. I don't think he cares. But he knows that at this moment in history, Americans are suspicious, are anxious, are afraid of China and of trade. So he goes after trade. Does he really hate immigrants? His wife is an immigrant. He's married to an immigrant. But everything he does suggests he hates immigrants. No. Again, there's a moment in American history right now. Sad. All these are sad, right? I'm not... Where people hate immigrants. Not just illegal ones. They say they hate illegal immigrants, and they love legal immigrants. But when you push them, they hate immigrants, period. So he capitalized on that, and he used that as a marketing campaign. He saw that before everybody else, that there's a real frustration and anger in America, and that these are ways to... And look, he acted... And if you... Again, I've done some podcasts on this, and where I really analyzed Trump, but he acted like an authoritarian. This is what authoritarians do. Step one. Tell people the world is ending, it's falling apart. They should be really, really afraid. Right? Easy because there's some element of truth, but exaggerated, right? He would say there's carnage in the streets of America. You know what carnage is? Really? I mean, not in my streets. I mean, if you look at crime statistics in America, there are we live in one of the most peaceful periods in all of American history. Crime is up a little bit, significantly in Chicago. Crime, but that's it. You know where I live, for all intents and purposes, there's no crime. I remember in the 70s and 80s going to New York City and being afraid to leave my hotel at night. Today, you can walk in the streets of New York City at 2 a.m., nobody's afraid. And yet, there's, carnage in the streets. So we start, and you're losing your jobs. Everybody's losing. The factories are empty all over America. Really? Unemployment is 4%, which is not bad. We produce in America more stuff than ever in history. Double what we produced when the maximum amount of people work in production. We have less people working, we produce more. Not surprising, technology. But we're producing more stuff, more real things than ever in American history. But, America's producing nothing, it's all gone to China. It's nonsense. Every single one of these things he said to scare us has an element of truth which he blows up out of proportion. Mm-hmm. So part one, you scare people. Part two, who do you blame? It's not your fault. No, Americans are good people, hard-working people. They believe in God and country and everything's going to be fine, right? Whose fault is it? It's the other. Fill in the blank. If you're a European authoritarian, it's Jews. Or maybe today it's Muslims, right? Again, element of truth, but blown out of all proportion, right? It's Jews. Now, in America, you can't say that, particularly if you want to win an election. So you say it's the Chinese, it's the Mexicans, it's the South Koreans, it's the Germans, it's anybody we trade with. And of course, it's immigrants, because they are the ultimate other, right? They're closer to being the Jews of Europe, right? Because they're in your country and they look different. Oh my God, right? So it's immigrants and it's foreigners. And then how do you solve the problem, right? There's a problem. Life is terrible. It's other people's fault, not Americans. How do you solve the problem? You build a wall. And the ultimate authoritarian, trust me. I ran a business. I know how to fix things. Don't worry. Trust me. That's the playbook of every authoritarian in history. Scare them, find a scapegoat, and then tell them to trust you. And that's what Trump did. Is he an authoritarian? No, because the system in America is robust and won't let him be an authoritarian. But is he in his blood an authoritarian? Absolutely. He says to the Republicans, do away with the filibuster, right? There's a reason there's a filibuster, because the founders didn't like democracy. So they wanted 60 votes. They didn't want 51 for everything. They wanted people to really believe in something, before they passed the law. Right? So, he wants to undo all that because he doesn't care. He's a pragmatist. He wants to win at any cost. So. So that's my quick analysis of Trump. Yes.
Yes. In your opinion, to what extent does the youth of Ayn Rand have a role in her philosophy, in her economic thoughts? So the fact that she lived in pre-revolutionary Russia, that she lived through the revolution, she came from an upper class family.
Well, middle class, yeah.
Middle class, yeah.
She wasn't upper class. She was middle class. She's Jewish, owned a pharmacy. That's not upper class. This is a question that's broader than Ayn Rand. What makes us who we are? The environment in which we are raised, option 1. Our genes, option 2. And then psychologists say it's a mixture of both. And of course, they ignore option 3, which I think is the most important, which is the choices we make, the free will that we all have over our own lives, the decision and choices we make. And people ignore that completely. It's as if we're automatons dictated by environment and genes, which is ridiculous in my view. And all you have to do to discover how ridiculous it is look inside yourself, introspect a little bit, and you can discover your own will. I think Ayn Rand is mostly the third part. And I think all of us are mostly the third part. I think we are mostly creations of ourselves. I think she was, 150 million Russians, probably more than that, lived under communism. There's only one Ayn Rand. So 150 million were exposed to those ideas. Only one Ayn Rand. Millions and millions and millions lived before Russia with the great 19th century, and none of them are Ayn Rand. So she took that. That was all material for her, no question. And she wouldn't have said and been exactly the same person if not for those, right? Her genes, who made her a genius, her environment that gave her the information, the evidence, but it's her choices, her particular mind that did what it did with it that came out. She would have come up with this philosophy, I think, even if she wasn't in the Soviet Union, but it would have been different. It would have been, the focus and the orientation probably would have been somewhat different. But she's not a product of, nobody is a product of the environment unless you shut yourself down. If you don't think for yourself, then you become a product of other people. She was obviously not that. She was an original thinker. So I think that's part of it. Being born at the beginning of the 20th century or the late 19th century gave you a certain spirit that I don't think being born today you could have. A certain optimism, a certain joie de vivre, I say it right? Love of life, a certain, life is good. Pre-World War I, there was this attitude in Europe that just, think about the music. Nobody could write Tchaikovsky or Chopin or Rachmaninoff today. It's just not in the psyche. We're cynics. We have punk rock. That's what we love, right? Not me, but I'm still a romantic. But romantic music is impossible today, right? I was at the D'Orsay Museum today, and nobody can sculpt like that. Not because they don't have the technical skills, but nobody believes in that. Nobody believes in human beings being heroic and beautiful and magnificent like they did in the 19th century. We just don't. We think human beings, scum. So we make them into abstractions. So we can't, God forbid, identify that there's a human being there. No, this was a beautiful, amazing. Particularly for you French. God, to be in Paris in the 19th century was culturally. I can't think of another era, maybe other than Greece, of cultural vibrancy and optimism. And you had Hugo and Liszt and Chopin and sitting at the coffee shop together. That's just blows your mind, blows my mind. Anyway, so that's to me. So being born during that period matters to your sense of life. I think the biggest tragedy we have today is, I know libertarians don't think these ways, but this is how I think, is the lack of that kind of art, that kind of view of the world, that kind of beauty. Again, we got punk rock. That's ugly. Whatever you say, you might get into it, but it's ugly. It's not beauty and the heroic man and wonderful, great stuff, right? I don't know, punk rock stuck in my mind, or the abstract art that we have today, which is mostly ugly and meaningless. It doesn't mean a thing. It's postmodernism on campus, right? No truth, no reality, nothing. Right? That, to me, we're poorer in that regard than anything economically. the economy, yeah, we could still all manage given the socialism that we have. But the lack of great authors, the lack of great novels, the lack of great, maybe you have a few decent movies, but even there, right? Luc Besson is declining dramatically. There was a question. You asked.
I'm sorry, but last question.
Okay, so last question. You haven't asked yet.
Finish 30 minutes before.
Thank you, it was a wonderful speech. I'm one of the few people here that I'm sure Ayn Rand in my life, right? But I want to come back to the concept of free will.
Yeah.
The whole philosophy, the whole system is based on that. If we discover that free will doesn't exist, right, the whole tower falls apart.
Yes.
And you mentioned Sam Harris earlier as well.
Somewhat.
Sam Harris.
Yes.
And I'm sure you know that he's not a huge fan of the concept of free will. He's even an advocate of the illusion of free will. He wrote a whole book about that. And the whole field of neurosciences today is working actively and making progress about the fact that we start to understand the brain better and better. And for now, until now, the evidence seems to suggest that indeed free will is really hard to locate.
Yeah.
And so again, I'm a huge fan of Ayn Rand and her philosophy. But if it appears that free will is indeed,
then who cares? I agree with, then who cares? Then this discussion is meaningless. Then why am I here? Then nothing I say matters. I mean, to me, the idea we don't have free will is so bizarre. It's so ridiculous. And with all due respect to the scientific information, we're still at the very, very beginning of understanding how the mind works. To make declaratory statements based on research that suggests that they see something happen before you raise your arm, or all this stuff that I read about is absurd. It's ridiculous. We're at the beginning of the science. There's still 100 years before we fully understand how the mind works, at least. Neuroscientists that I talk to who are familiar with philosophy say that the science has almost nothing to say about free will.
do you have some books you recommend that would be
I not anything I could do off the hand. If you send me an email, I could ask around. I'm not an expert. But to me, it's ridiculous. Science will never tell us that we don't have free will. Let me make that clear. Science will never tell us that we don't have free will, any more than science can tell us that reality doesn't exist. That's the level at which free will is at.
Maybe it depends on how you define free will, because it's a difficult concept.
It's a difficult concept. So Ayn Rand defined free will as the ability, it's the choice to focus your mind, to be in focus, to initiate contact with the world, or to not, right? Focus or not to focus. It's not about whether I raise my hand right now or not. It's primarily about the issue of, are you in focus or are you not? Are you activating your mind or are you not activating your mind? And something is activating that mind that is not, what do you call it, billiard ball causality related. And she defined causality different than David Hume defined causality. She defined causality as the thing acting based upon its nature, not the thing acting because something else acted on it. And the nature of consciousness, of human consciousness, is to have free will. It acts based on its nature. And you cannot undo a philosophical concept like that with science. Science ultimately will tell us how it all works once free will is there. But it won't explain. It won't explain away. It cannot explain away free will. Any different than science can explain away reality. Science will never explain away the existence of this glass. No, we accept that. But because I see it. That's why it can't explain. Because I see it. It's right here. I see it. There's no question. You can see your free will. There's nothing special about your senses that your introspection doesn't have. Quantum physics has not made me change my mind about this glass. No science that you come up with will make me question the existence, because I see it, of my free will. I know that I'm choosing to be here in the sense of to be engaged, right? And I know that. And that's knowledge, the same kind of knowledge that seeing this glass is. It's the same, philosophically, epistemologically, those are the same types of knowledge. The problem with science, the scientists today, not the problem with science,
is that they have a corrupt philosophical understanding of these concepts, and therefore undermining, the science, the philosophy is undermining the real science. What they're discovering is not correlated with what they think they're discovering philosophically. It's the same problem I think they have with quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics is an observable reality. What's going on there is real, but how you interpret it, that's a question of philosophy of science. How you interpret the results, the neurological results, is a question for philosophy of science. And the question of whether you have free will is not a scientific question. It is a observational question. It is an axiomatic question. It's something you observe directly, just like this class. It's the best I can do. Not my expertise. I'm not in epistemology, but that's I think that's what Ayn Rand would say. Thank you.
Thank you, Yaron.